guys, welcome back to my Flosstube channel. I'm Jessica, this is the Needle and Floss, and yeah, this is where I talk about all things cross-stitch, knitting, and anything else crafty that I've been working on, and just, you know, life. Speaking of, past couple weeks, pretty busy. My husband and I have been watching Battlestar Galactica. We're finally on to season 4. We're about halfway through season 4, so really interesting plot lines going on. I've seen it before. He's watching it for the first time, and it's really cool to watch him theorize and try to figure out what's going on. And then it's been like a decade since I watched it, so there's even so much that I've forgotten about. So, like, I know how it ends, but at the same time, there's a lot of it that I don't remember. So it's been really cool just like reliving that experience. Otherwise, last weekend, I kind of got low-key sick. But I did have a spurt of productivity, and my husband and I, we got actually quite a lot of spring yard cleanup done, which was really cool. This is our first spring as homeowners. So, because we bought and moved into this house last summer. We moved in August. So this is our first spring, like preparing all the plants and the lawn and all of that kind of stuff. So we tore up all of the dead annuals, because I'm sure you're probably supposed to do that already, but we hadn't. So we tore up all the dead annuals. We planted new annuals. I don't remember what types they were. We got like a 6-pack of, like, it actually came as a 6-pack of purple flowers, which were really pretty. And then we got some pink, oh goodness, periwinkles, I think they're called. So those are up front, and then we got an azalea bush, and we think we're gonna pot it and put it in the backyard. And then we just did a lot of cleanup and bush trimming, and we were cutting our trimming our crepe myrtles back and stuff like that. So we actually got our yard looking, I mean, it's not where we want it, but we got a lot done, and it felt really good, and it looks really good right now. I mean, there's still a lot more to be done, but it looks better than it did. But yeah. But because I was low-key sick, last episode or last couple weeks, I mentioned that I wanted to film a tour of my craft space and like how I have it organized. So because I was planning on doing that last weekend, and then last weekend is when I kind of started feeling not too great, didn't get done. But I'm hoping to at least film it this weekend. That's my goal. Again, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. Yeah, because I'm filming this on Saturday, and tomorrow, my husband and I, we play D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. And usually we've been playing virtually online with our friends. We have a Discord channel that we all hop on together. And then there is a website service that a lot of people use called Roll20. And so before the pandemic, we would all get together. But we've been using Roll20 for the past year, since about March, April 2020, to play D&D that way. But the weather's been really nice, and we're gonna try a socially distanced D&D not party, but like small get together, because it'll only really be 5 of us, I think. No, 5 of us. Usually there's 6 of us, and one of our friends who plays actually is in Atlanta. We're all in Texas, but she's unavailable to play. So it's just the 5 of us in Texas. So that's why actually we wanted to try to do it in person again. But we'll all be like spread out in our backyard. And instead of using maps, we're probably all just going to be theater of the mind, probably on like chairs and blankets, all spread out like 6 feet, at least 6 feet apart in our backyard. And then we'll just have like our own little area of like rolling and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited for that. But then that's all to say, bringing it back, filming the tour of the craft area. I'm hoping to have time to do that today. So yeah, we'll see. But life has been good. Besides me being like low key not feeling that great. It's been pretty good. Got a lot done. I have some whips, some finishes, some new starts, a variety of knitting and cross stitch today. A lot of cross stitch, but I've actually got a little bit of a knitting bug the past few days. And then before that, I was purposely getting some knitting in most every day. So it's actually a lot of knitting ended up adding up, but still a lot of cross stitch. Don't worry. So let's get into it. The first finish I have is a hat. It's a beanie. I like it. It's pretty light in terms of the material. It was supposed to be worsted weight yarn, and it actually is labeled as worsted weight. It's this right here. It's provincial tweed from Knit Picks. And it even says worsted weight. It's not, it didn't knit up worsted weight for me. Like the gauge swatch was not working, for what I intended to use this yarn for. This was supposed to be leg warmers, but the pattern I have for leg warmers wasn't going to work for this yarn. So I just found, I think the pattern for this hat called for sport or DK. I'm not sure. And I've never actually bought a sport or DK yarn, so I really don't know how this compares. But I made it work, and I rather like it. It's a pretty lightweight hat, so it'll probably be like a fall hat for when I want to wear something. Honestly, probably more for fashion than warmth because it's pretty light. Yeah, but it's cute. I really like the tweed. The tweeding ended up looking really cute. And the pattern was really easy as well. I'll link it in the description below. I really don't remember what the pattern was called. It was on Ravelry though, and it was free. Because that was the other thing. I wanted to make leg warmers. No, the leg warmers were free too. But because I wasn't planning the project I wanted to use for this, since I couldn't use my planned project, I didn't want to buy a pattern just to use up yarn. And if I have the yarn, I want to use it, right? So I just found a free hat pattern. I'll link it below if you want to use it, or, put it in your library of potential knitting hats. It calls for a pom-pom. I've never done a pom-pom. Excuse me. I've never done a pom-pom before. And I actually really like the slouchy look to it. So I'm probably just going to keep it as is. I don't know. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. I probably won't wear it really until next fall, to be honest, because it's starting to warm up in Texas pretty decently. We might have like one more coldish weekend, but we've been on a pretty mild streak and the weather's been really fantastic. It's been like sweater weather, borderline t-shirt weather. And then some days we're just straight up t-shirt and shorts weather. So the chances I'll probably get a chance to wear this are slim, but it'll be there for the fall. So that's nice. My next, fixing my hair. That's the thing with hats, right? You're gonna like pull it off and then get hat hair. My next finish is also a knitting finish. So here's the thing. I'm backing up. We're going on a little bit of a tangent. Not really, it's related to knitting. But I only started knitting like a month and a half ago. And it was because Shiloh of Cross Stitch MD, she shows knitting with her Flosstube finishes as well in her Flosstube. And I just kept seeing these socks and I was like, that would be so cool to knit socks. And so I started with dishcloths, I knit a hat, and then my very third project, I was like, I'm gonna knit socks. So I did it. And I've shown my sock progress in previous Flosstube episodes, but I finished them, guys. I have a pair of socks that I can wear. And it's so crazy. Like, I can wear these socks and I've been wearing them. They've actually already been washed. Like I wore them immediately as soon as I finished the second sock. And then I washed them. And so like this is actually them out of the washer and they're so soft. They are knit with, again, another Knit Picks yarn. I think that's really where I've just been buying all my yarn is Knit Picks. It comes in a hank, so this was hand wound. I don't have a Swift or a ball winder. I just have been winding them by hand, but it is their fingering weight Stroll Tonal in Eucalyptus. And green is pretty much my favorite color, especially when it's like a naturey green, like more muted and either like light or kind of dark. So yeah, I really like how these turned out and the color of them and everything too. So I don't know. I'm just socks, guys, socks. It just makes me want to. I don't know what just happened, but I'm really excited about the socks. In other news, cross-stitching. I have a finish for now that is done, and that is the Made to Create Stitch Along by Cross Stitch Caterpillar. And you can see that we have an E, and then this release was with an A. And it's got, I love the stork scissors. I don't have a pair myself, but I love them. And that's the A. And then we've got some diamond painting squares. I think they're called drills. Some yarn and needles, which, you know, speak to me now. Newly speak to me. And then we have a couple buttons. And that's the part for Made to Create. That was released end of February. So the next pattern release is March 25th. So it's actually coming up. So we'll see when I pick this up next. They released this as a kit. So you could actually get all of the floss and their fabric choices included as well. I just bought the pattern. So I already had some of the floss and then I bought Vintage Country Mocha in 36 count. And I have never stitched on Vintage Country Mocha before, but I have heard people rave about it. I get it now, guys. It makes everything look good. It's kind of crazy. I'm definitely going to be stitching on Vintage Country Mocha again. And those are my finishes. So moving on to whips, I was working some on the Zodiac Signs Stitch Along. And so this is what I've got so far. Aquarius was the January part, Pisces was February, and now I'm working on Aries, which is March. So when I showed this to you last time, I had just the outline of this horn. So I have a little bit more of his head filled in, and I think I worked a little bit more on the border around him. I didn't really get as much as I thought I would done on this, but it's coming along, and the next release isn't until April 1st, so I have time. This is the Zodiac Signs by Tiny Modernist. I don't remember if I said the pattern designer before. And this is stitched on 18 count navy Aida. Something that I kind of regret not doing. I kind of wish I had washed the fabric before I started stitching on it, because I've never used navy Aida from Zweigart before. I think this is Zweigart. And Zweigart's a pretty good brand, but I don't want to wash it and then it bleed, and then like with the lighter colors, it get dulled out. So I'm kind of wishing I washed it, but I think it's too late. So it would be weird if it like, you know, I wash it now and then it bleeds, and then I wash it again, and then, you know, some parts are darker than others. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't bleed. I'm sure it'll be fine though. It's Zweigart. It's just the little voice in my head that's catastrophizing everything. The other thing, I've mentioned that there's like little confetti stitches that I'm not doing. I'm gonna do beads instead. I started looking at which beads I want to get, and I didn't realize, because the confetti stitches are mostly in this color right here. The Mill Hill beads have a conversion where they match up to DMC colors, and I don't know if I found one that really matches this, so I might have to get a handful, I mean, not a handful, but like 3 different colors and see if I can color match. Or the other thing too is if I can't color match, I might just go completely different and like do lighter colors. I don't know yet. So that's step 1 with the beading though, is I just need to find the beads I want to use. So that's also a to-do. But I mean, this isn't going to be completely finished until the end of the year. So I have time to do the beading in the border. But I want to start at least picking out the beads, you know? But yeah, this is my progress on Zodiac Signs. So up until now, I've just been showing stitch-alongs. And not just stitch-alongs, but mystery stitch-alongs. So both of the Made to Create and the Tiny Modernist Zodiac Signs, they don't have a final rendering that I could have really showed you. I mean, I could have showed you what the finished part looks like, but Made to Create, you already saw it. And I mean, it's gonna be a ram's head for Zodiac Signs. You get it. But the next one that I've been working on, my next whip, work in progress, has been Retro Geometric, which is actually just what it's called, is Retro Geometric Pattern by Axaby. And so I actually have a rendering for this. So it's really just a pattern. I love the colors, and it's pretty easy to stitch up. Like once you kind of know what the pattern is, you just kind of go. And then once you have enough of it established, you know what the color repeat is. Now I started this at the beginning of January, but I've been working on it on and off just because if it's not a stitch along, I have a whip wheel, an app on my phone that I choose when I'm not working on a stitch along. I'll use that to choose a project. And it's just because I have so many whips, and then it takes the guessing out of it for me. So I was really excited when this pattern came up because I got to work on it some more. So last time, I believe I really just had like this half of it done. So I really got a pretty good chunk done of like this corner. I still have, like, I'm not done the corner. Like I think it even comes out a little bit further too. Because if you look on this side, like that teal comes out a little bit more. So, you know, I'm a little bit over halfway done this corner, but it's really coming along. It's going to be a square, so, you know, I'm kind of cutting it off a little bit, but I'm excited to finish this and get this up. I'm building a cross-stitch wall in my office. I'm planning a cross-stitch wall in my office where my favorite cross stitches will go on a wall all like spaced out in a way that I really like. And so this will definitely make the wall because I'm just in love with this. I love the pattern. I love the colors. It's so pretty. I can't wait for this to come up on my whip wheel again. And that's the thing. I like the whip wheel because it forces me to not get siloed into one project, because otherwise I would just work on this and ignore the other ones. So for me, the whip wheel works. And also I don't know when I'll stitch this again, but we'll see. I love it whenever I get to stitch on it. And it's so pretty. And it's mostly full coverage. I mean, if you think about it, like there's really, when it's done, there's not going to be a whole bunch of it where the Ada shows through, And this is stitched on 18 count, and it's just an oatmeal I had in stash. I think I have like a roll of oatmeal, 18 count oatmeal in my closet, and I'm just trying to use it up because I don't really stitch on Ada anymore. But I do like oatmeal. It looks really nice. Another whip that got some love was my Monogram for D. My last name starts with a D. And I finished, I mean, I had already done probably up to like here. This part was done, but I got quite a bit done in terms of going down the side of this D. And now it's really just the rest of the D is trees and forest. So I'm actually really excited to start stitching this again. So 1/1 antique linen, 28 count. I think when this is finished, the D will be about 4 by 4 inches. So I think I'm gonna pop this. I think it's gonna be 4 by 4. And then I think I was gonna pop this in a square 5 by 5 frame. I don't know what frame. I want to finish it and kind of see what vibe I'm getting out of it. Maybe just like a natural wood tone. Since there's so much wood tone, like especially like a dark walnut. There's a lot of that in our house, as you can see. We have like an industrial vibe going on in our house. That's kind of our decor style. Again, check out the lamp. Yeah, and then especially in this room, in the den, we have 2 plants, the Monstera beside me. And then in front of me, if I'm looking this way, I'm looking at the TV. And then beside the TV is a ZZ plant, and we might get more plants in here, not sure. Again, new house, still our first year in it, still accumulating things. But I think the D is gonna be going in the den. D for den? No, D for last name. But that's all to say I'm very excited to get this framed and finished and put up. And that's another thing too. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but with finishing, like I love finishing a piece, but then when it comes to framing it and fully finishing it, I drag my feet so much. Like for finishing, I wanted to have more finished cross-stitch pieces, like fully finished cross-stitch pieces to show. So I actually washed a lot of my finishes, just finishes from the past, not even finishes from lately. Because I just had a whole, up until 2021, like the very beginning of this year, I had a really bad habit of just finishing a piece and throwing it in a box and not doing anything with it. So my goal for this year is to slowly get those out, choose frames, choose how I want to finish them, and then actually do it, right? So like the gramophone I showed last time that I finished, and I think there's like another finish that I showed on a previous Flosstube as well, I'm not sure. So like there's a couple that I've finished recently, but a lot that I have finished like last year or even previous years that just haven't been done. So that's all to say, I washed quite a few cross stitches, and I actually have frames already bought that I can put them in. Like the frames are here in the house. I just need to, and I iron them too. I iron the cross stitches. But when it comes to cutting the foam board and then lacing, I just drag my feet. So hopefully we'll have some finishes to show next week with cross stitching. And then also when I finish this eventually, even though I'm super excited for it to be in the den, we'll see how long it takes for me to actually do it, right? So I don't know. The last whip that you've seen before is another one that I've been really excited to work on. And that's the Stitcher's Code. And that's because the Stitcher's Code was another SAL. And there was never, but it's a SAL that it was done, like it finished last year. All the parts are released, but they never published a full rendering of it complete. So I haven't been able to show you what the finished product will be. So I've been excited to work on it. And the Stitcher's Code, I've been working on the top banner, so it has the Stitcher's Code, but now I've been actually working on the first block. So I've got the word Stitcher in, and this block is going to say, a Stitcher lives here, so don't mind all the stash, or something like that. And I don't know, I'm really digging the letters and everything. But the other thing too is, the more I'm stitching this, I really, really like the individual squares. And now I'm kind of worried that, like, I don't know, I'm hoping that the individual squares won't look cluttered, and I'm hoping I shouldn't have finished them separately. Like each part is a square, right? So it's 6 parts. So there's going to be square, 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 and then 2 down here. So it's like a 2x3, right? So I'm kind of wondering in the back of my head if I should have done the 6 parts in 6 little minis and then done something with them. But I also like the border, so we'll see. I don't know, I'm just gonna keep working on it. I think it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll look good. I mean, I don't know why I'm questioning it. It's fine. Either way, I'm having so much fun stitching it up. And it's kind of got like a Stitch Rovia vibe to it with like the gradient and like the unusual typography. And there's gonna be, when the word stash, which is down here somewhere, that's another one that has like fun typography with it as well. So we'll see. Yeah, my progress finished the banner because the banner wasn't quite finished, and then I started on this. And this is stitched on 32 count Belfast linen in cream, which I'm actually really liking with like the purples and the pinks and the blues. So I really like that choice. And this is by Stitchingly, which is a site that apparently is supposed to be like Ravelry for cross stitchers. I haven't really used it except for downloading this pattern, buying and downloading this pattern. And they don't seem as established as Ravelry, but it's supposed to be somewhere where it's supposed to be like a community as well as somewhere that you can get patterns, which I thought was really interesting. If you do want to see the different parts, again, I can't show you myself, but if you look at the hashtag Stitchingly on Instagram, I think you should be able to find finished works or like whips, people that were working on this as well, just so that you can kind of see what's to come. So moving right along into new starts. So I did have a new start. I figured I was allowed to start something new since I finished my gramophone last time. So I went ahead and started House on the Seaside by Cross Stitch by Katya. And she has an Etsy shop, which is where I purchased this. So I had just grabbed a 32 count fabric from Stash. So I don't actually know or remember where I had gotten this. But as you can see, I made some progress on the house. And I think this is all just one color. And I think this is actually like the top of the house and this is the bottom of the house. So you can kind of get an idea of the size. And I am just stitching, yeah, it's 32 count. So I'm stitching this 2/2, which is what I normally do, but I second guessed myself, I think. Because I wasn't sure if I had stitched it over 3/2 for some reason, but no, this is definitely 2/2. So yeah, I'm really excited. I love the beach. I love staring at waves. I could just be on a beach and stare at waves for the whole day. Like, that's totally my jam. And then my husband and I, in 2019 when we got married, we actually, it wasn't truly eloping because all our friends and family knew we were going to do this, but just the two of us, we went to Hawaii. Just the two of us and a photographer and the person marrying us. It was just us by ourselves on a beach, and that's how we got married. So I don't know. Beaches, and especially kind of like that little bit of a tropical vibe too. Like, that kind of has a special meaningness to us. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to have house on, what is this called? house on the seaside. I'm pretty excited to have house on the seaside done. I'm not sure if this will be on the cross stitch wall or if this will be somewhere else in the house. But yeah, I'm pretty happy to get this as a new start. So I have 2 more new starts, and we've moved back into the realm of knitting. I finished my socks, so that meant I needed to cast on a new sock. Now this time this is going to be for my husband. He saw my socks, and he saw them as I was knitting them, and kind of gave me a side eye and was like, when are you going to knit something for me? So I made him pick out his yarn on Knit Picks. I'm like, Knit Picks has been my go-to. So he picked this, which, if you know him, like, this is totally his colors. Like, it's a blend of, like, he's kind of like muted neutrals kind of thing, but like not just grays and blacks. So this is totally him. This is the yarn ball that is wound, and it is Muse Adventure. Oh, come on. And it's Muse Adventure Speckle, which I think, I mean, that's a pretty good name for this color, I think. Adventure Speckle. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I've never knit with Muse before, the Muse line from Knit Picks. It's not as soft as Stroll from them, or Hawthorne, which I've both used. But the sock still feels nice. So, and then I don't know how, it's sock yarn, so I mean, it's got a little bit of nylon in it as well. So we'll see what happens after it washes, and it might soften up a little bit. But I just love the colors. And this is literally all I have done. He doesn't want a super tall rib, the top part. And then he also doesn't want it like terribly long. So I'll probably only have like a 5-inch leg. And then I'll start on the heel. But it's also crazy because, like, I mean, a men's sock, you know, you put more stitches in the round. So each round takes slightly longer. So I was so used to how fast my socks knit up, and this is taking slightly longer. So it's just different. I don't know, but I'm enjoying it, and hopefully I'll be able to get him a pair of socks. We'll see how long it takes. I don't know. So my last new start, my last project to show, really, I have been obsessed, and the last couple days, I've literally only worked on this, and that is a shawl. I am knitting a shawl. I don't know what I've gotten myself into because shawls are big, but I have quite a bit of it done. So yeah, this is a West Knits shawl by Stephen West, and I just love his patterns. They're so fun and colorful. And then of course I had to choose green. I muted it out. I chose 2 grays and 2 greens for it. I'll share the yarn in a sec. But it's circular. It's like a circular shawl that I have on circulars. So it'll eventually be this giant, like, half circle kind of thing. But the middle, knit up pretty quick. I don't really know how to hold this in a way that makes sense, but there we go. The middle, like I started here, and I would say about here, I did like in a day and a half. And then the rest of it is what's taken a long time. I got obsessed with it the last couple of days because I think on Thursday I was like here, and I was so excited to add some green in because, like I said, green's my favorite color. I'm wearing it. My socks are green. So I was just so excited to get it in. And I learned how to do like these little bubbles, which is really cool. And now I'm doing like these hexagons, which don't look like hexagons right now, but I think as I add more, they'll start looking like hexagons. And then, so like this is a row of the dark gray, and then it'll be, and you can't really see, but these are actually two different greens. There's like a lighter green and a darker green. So there will be like a row of hexagons of the lighter green and a row of hexagons of the darker green. But I'm using, surprise, surprise, Knit Picks yarn. The base is this stroll. It's Dove Heather. I had to look. It's Dove Heather. It's very soft. I actually am really excited to use stroll again for socks just because of how soft it is. And the socks I made were stroll tonal, which felt this soft. So we're really liking it. The other gray is a stroll tonal. I think I accidentally threw the label out for this, but it's actually the same. It's the same label as the eucalyptus. It's just, instead of eucalyptus, I think this is called Thunderhead. And it's got a little bit of variegation to it. My two greens, the lighter green, which, I mean, it's not that light, but it's lighter than this. This is another stroll in Forest Heather. And there's a little bit of variegation to it. There's like a little bit of yellowness to it. And then this guy is a Hawthorn fingering weight in Conifer Kettle. Or it's just conifer, because it might be a kettle dye. I don't know enough about yarn, but it's got a little bit of light in it, which is kind of the same color as the other yarn, the other green, but then it gets pretty dark. So I'm hoping that there's enough contrast between these. I think there is, but then when I'm eventually finished and wearing the shawl, I hope that, you know, there's enough of a contrast for it to make sense. And I mean, the lighting makes it look really contrasty, but then in other lights, it doesn't look as contrasted. So I don't know. Even if it doesn't look super different, I'm still gonna be happy with it because I love these greens. Love, love, love them. And green's just my favorite color. Like, I'm the kind of person who, I think in college, I realized how much I liked green. And not that I bought a ton of clothes. I mean, I have never really been a clothes person. But over the course of a couple years, when I did buy clothes, I think I only bought green. So there was a point in college where I was going through my closet and I realized that just like a good 60-75% of my clothes were green. And it was like, this sweater is green, this t-shirt's green. Oh, I want to wear a t-shirt and a cardigan, they're both green. Like, it was ridiculous. I started realizing that there's other colors I like to wear. Not that you would think that because I'm wearing green. But yeah, I'm gonna have a shawl. And what's funny too is with the Texas weather, like, yeah, I'm making amazing progress on this. I mean, I think I am. But for every row you knit, you increase stitches, so it takes longer and longer. And this is I don't even think this is halfway done. So this is gonna take a while for me to finish. And by the time I finish it, it's gonna be too hot to wear it, which is gonna make me sad, and I'm probably just gonna wear it anyways. Not outside. Outside would be ridiculous, but inside, especially in Texas, everyone has air conditioning because it gets ridiculously hot. So sometimes when you go indoors, like if you're going out somewhere, you'll be in a t-shirt and shorts, and then you'll go in and then you'll be cold because of how climate controlled it is. So who knows? This actually might work for summer for when I go into someone's house. If, now that I think about it, I don't even know if I'll be going anywhere because of the pandemic, but you know, whatever. Even in this house, I don't care. This might be like my wrap up little, I want to wrap up because the AC is set to 70 and I want to wear it. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna find excuses to wear this, I'm sure. Not that I'm anywhere near finishing it. And that's it. That is everything I've worked on for the past couple weeks. I usually don't go over plans, but I do have a little bit of a plan in terms of buying things. This month was supposed to be a no-buy month for me. But because I'm still so new in knitting, I bought all the yarn for my shawl. I bought the yarn for my husband's socks, and then I have a yarn for another pair of socks that I want to do when I'm done, his socks. So I bought a lot of yarn. I also bought a set of interchangeable knitting needles, circular knitting needles, because I just got to the point where I was knitting so many gauge swatches for like the leg warmers and for the hats and, you know, socks and everything. And I kept having to change my needle size, but then I'd have to buy a new set of needles. And it just got to the point where I was like, I just need to bite the bullet. I need to get an interchangeable set. So I bought that and I bought all the yarn. So that was at the beginning of March when I was supposed to have a no-buy month. To be fair, I haven't bought anything for cross-stitching. And also, to be fair, I'm kind of counting the interchangeable needle set as like a startup cost since I'm only like a month and a half into knitting. And that's not really a repeat buy. That's more of like a, now I should be good. I'm gonna try to have a no-buy month for April as well. And this is all because I really want to get a Lowery stand. I really, really want to get a Lowery stand. But Lowery stands in US, you know, there's conversion for Canadian dollars and for pounds. But in US, they're about 200, and then I would get the L-bar extender because this is one of my stitchy spots. Like I stitch right here. I also stitch on the other side of the couch too. But if I stitch here and if I had a Lowery stand right here, I would need a longer bar. So and then with shipping and everything, like it might be like a $250 stand, which is pretty pricey. But I've gotten cross-stitch stands in the past. I've had a couple from Michaels, and they were the wooden ones with like the knobs that you tighten. And they just didn't work for me, and the knobs would wear out after about a couple months of using them, and like it was so hard for them to actually stay tightened, where to the point like it would feel tightened and then it would still like start moving on me. So yeah, I really want a Lowery stand, but that means that I need to just have some no-buy months, which is fine. I have so many whips right now, like between the sock yarn that I have and the shawls, and then I think I have like 13 or 15 cross-stitch whips right now. And the stitch-alongs. That might be including the stitch-alongs, that might not be, I'm not sure. But the stitch-alongs are gonna last a year anyways, plus all the socks and the knitting and everything. So it's like I have enough. I don't need to buy anything now. Like, especially now that I've gotten like set up with the knitting and I like established, I shouldn't need to buy anything. So my goal is, if I can do no spend for the rest of March and no spend for April, I think I might get a Lowery stand in May. We'll see. But that's the plan. I'll keep you updated though. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe or leave a comment. You can find me on Instagram at the Needle and Floss, spelled the exact same way as my YouTube channel. I also have an Etsy store that I will have a link to below. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.